Hello, my name is Wendy Sweet from New Zealand, and I welcome you to this introduction webinar, which I've called your Masterclass on Menopause. It's about 40 minutes long, and yes, you can pause me anytime you like. I would so love you to join me on my 12-week continuing professional development course. But first, to help you decide, I have this webinar for you. And I want to start with a couple of questions. Firstly, do you see women in your practice or coaching sessions who are between the ages of 45 and 60 years or older? And secondly, have you ever wondered how their health, their lifestyle behaviours and their mindset to make the changes that you propose to them might be affected by how their body and brain is adjusting to menopause? And finally, do you understand menopause hormonal changes and how these impact on their day-to-day function, including their sleep, energy and well-being? Did you know, for example, that menopause affects their circadian rhythm, which in turn affects every other organ in the body? And I know myself, as well as, millions of women around the world, we just want to feel fabulous in our 50s. After all, this is always marketed to us, but instead many arrive at the stage of life feeling tired, run down, and experience a range of emotional and physical changes that impact their day-to-day functioning. I'm sure you have experienced this feedback from your clients as well. For example, this is Jo from New Zealand. I came across her at a seminar I was presenting at, and she phoned me the next day, and this is what she said: nothing I'm doing is working. I've tried trainers and supplements and HRT and nutritionists, but my hot flushes are worse, my joints are sore, and I feel heavy and bloated. And she did indeed sound very frustrated on the phone. So I asked her what she was doing with her nutrition, and she told me that she was eating the same foods that her husband and sons were eating, and these were from a nutrition program that they had sourced out of the United Kingdom. But when I explored what was in it, this was a bodybuilding plan designed for athletes and not for women in menopause with busy careers and family commitments. And then I met Isabel in Edinburgh whilst on my UK tour before the world turned to chaos. Like many women, she was spending hundreds of dollars on supplements, and none of which she thought were actually working for her sore joints. And of course, as a tennis player, she found this really frustrating. Then there was Jackie over in Melbourne, Australia, and as you can see from that photo that she shared with me, she's very thin and lean. And at the time she came onto my 12-week programs, she had moods were all over the place. She was on HRT and antidepressants from her doctor, and of course I don't interfere with any medications women are on, but she hadn't changed her diet to reflect her need to maintain her weight. She was losing weight in menopause, and nor had that improved her sleep. So, like so many others, there's also a lot of invisible chaos that women experience, and this seems to arrive in midlife. And whilst I'm not a medical doctor, as I said, and I don't interfere in any medical interventions, you can see from these results that ferritin, which is stored iron, is low, as well as vitamin D, and another inflammatory marker which is called C-reactive protein. And when I spoke to this lady, she said that when she saw her doctor, or after she saw her doctor, menopause changes weren't talked about at all. But the interesting thing with her was that she was a personal trainer in Australia. She ran a very busy gym studio, and because her passion was sports and activity, she was involved in a lot of triathlons and a lot of various activities in her community, but she really wasn't functioning because she wasn't taking into account her menopause symptoms, nor the fact that she didn't really have any stored iron to go by, and certainly didn't have the vitamin D to help her recover. And this so often happens, and that's because millions of women around the world are not realizing that menopause is not just just about hot flushes, anxiety and brain fog, which we're led to believe. But of course it's not. There's so much more going on around our body. And as I discovered in my doctoral studies on women's health and aging, whilst menopause is a natural life stage that all women go through, in fact, I call it the bookend to puberty, there are actually changes going on from around our mid-40s that occur throughout our body. For example, women have thousands of estrogen receptors throughout their body, particularly their blood vessels and their skin, and of course the skin is your largest organ, breast tissue, fat tissue, and brain, heart, liver, muscles, bone and gut, in fact everywhere. So when estrogen and progesterone levels decline during a woman's menopause transition, then many of these other areas are affected too. And this is the type of thing that I want to teach you in the CPD course. I want to talk to you about what menopause is and all of these changes that are going on in the first 2 to 3 weeks of the course. And no, you don't have to be a physiologist. I'll keep it very basic. A lot of you may not have a physiology background, so don't worry about that. My job is to help you learn. So, for example, we have estrogen receptors throughout our joints and muscles, and many women, myself included, think that we're headed for arthritis or another condition of aging called fibromyalgia, and this is a muscle pain disorder. However, it may not be these problems at all. As I learned on my doctoral research in studies of older women who are eating and adhering to a Mediterranean diet, they don't tend to experience the muscle and joint changes that many women eating a Western diet experience or living a Western lifestyle experience. And surprisingly, this is mainly due to their intake of the fabulous extra virgin olive oil. One of its components is called oleocanthal, and this binds to estrogen receptors. So it actually takes over from the role of estrogen as we get older. And as estrogen levels decline in menopause, it's just one of the strategies that women can put in place to alleviate the pain in their joints. And of course, if they've got sore joints, then they're not able to be very active. And of course, we need to be active as we get older. And as you can see here, this is Martina in Ireland. She was a runner and she couldn't run because of her aching joints. But as a teacher, this affected her well-being and her energy levels, and she began to feel quite despondent about what was actually going on with her health. So I was really pleased when she came onto the MyMenopause transformation programs. This is the programs that I've set up over the years, and was able to get back running again. It's really exciting when women actually can turn around their menopause joint pain with lifestyle solutions. And of course, one of the other changes that I'm sure you have heard about from some of your female clients who are in that midlife stage is that they experience the arrival of belly fat. And yes, I did too. But the problem is that if women don't get on top of this, then this may throw them into more metabolic and cardiac chaos. So they tend to go on various diets, they join the gyms and are taken through lots of different exercise and dieting regimes. But many of these are typically designed for younger women and athletes because menopause isn't taught about in a lot of the institutions where they've learned. But when you look at the research for menopause and women's midlife health, this differs from the type of exercise that many women are currently doing or being prescribed in various gyms and online workouts throughout the world. For example, middle-aged women need a minimum of around 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity, which is mainly aerobic, and this is to help improve their blood vessels and vascular status. So they actually don't need to be doing the exhausting high intensity exercise that is often prescribed for them, and can actually lead them into overtraining status. And for example, this is Linda here in New Zealand. She had put on over 30 kilos during her, the 8 to 10 years of her menopause transition, and she's in her early 60s now. She was trying to shift her weight with a lot of exercise, especially CrossFit, and over time, she gradually lost her confidence because she wasn't sleeping, and then her balance and her dizziness became worse. So, of course, she was kind of fighting a losing battle. And when she wasn't sleeping, this was throwing her body into worsening metabolic chaos. So, perhaps some of your clients have experienced this, or perhaps they've told you about their other symptoms, such as anxiety or even heart palpitations. The heart palpitations one is interesting, and this happened to me as well. And at the time, I had no idea that these health concerns were even related to menopause. But attending a Women's Health and Aging conference up in America as part of my doctoral studies changed all of this. I learned that a compound, when it comes to our heart palpitations, for example, a compound called CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10 has an effect on our cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle. And learning how this declines with age was life-changing for me. Not only did this type of knowledge help me understand what was going on in my own body, but for the thousands of women who've joined me over the years on the MyMT programs, it's changed their lives as well. So, mitochondrial function is hugely important as we age. And as we come into menopause, you can see by that graph, then there are certain things that happen. We're losing muscle, and that includes our cardiac muscle. And so we're losing this compound called CoQ10. So if you do go on and do the CPD course, and then eventually you might like to become an affiliate with me on the MyMT programs, then you will learn these step-by-step solutions to guide your female clients through this stage of life. And we get a lot of mitochondrial dysfunction as we come through menopause. And I want to talk to you about this on the course too, because it's really important to understand why women don't have energy and why their moods and anxieties and other symptoms are occurring, including their hot flushes. And some of you, of course, will understand that numerous women experience or feel melancholic and often feel depressed in midlife. It just seems to arrive out of nowhere. And this is really concerning because it affects their motivation to change their health behaviours, including whatever behaviours you might have or want them to do, and based on your own expertise and your coaching. So I'm really passionate about this because I found that my moods were all over the place as well. And it's an important consideration in menopause, and obviously antidepressants and hormonal replacement therapy, whether that's bioidentical therapies or not, have a role in the treatment of depression, and all women should get medically check to if they are feeling depressed. And I don't interfere with this at all, but I'm curious as to why 2/3 of those on antidepressants in the UK, Australia and New Zealand are female, and typically in their 50s and 60s. However, there are also lifestyle solutions that are also evidenced, and this was my curiosity as well. So I can't wait to share this knowledge with you on the 12-week MyMT CPD course. So, of course, there's a relationship between vitamin D levels, our exposure to sunlight, and serotonin, which is one of our mood hormones, and of course the connection between our skin. The skin is our largest organ in the body, and it has thousands of estrogen receptors in it. And there's been some fascinating research about how we can use this information to turn around mood state, depression, and improve serotonin production just through specific lifestyle changes. So if you come on board with me, then I'll take you through some of those solutions as well. Now, without turning you into physiologists, I want you to understand the physiology of menopause and why this life stage can be such a challenge for so many women. I want you to understand the various symptoms that occur and, most importantly, how they occur, but then how you can support your female clients to turn them around with changing a few things around their lifestyle. As I said, this is my passion. It's become my passion since doing my doctoral studies. I saw my own mother, go into heart disease as she came through into her early 60s. She ended up on all sorts of heart pills and potions and eventually had a stroke in her early 80s. And I often think if she knew the information that we have available now, how much this could have or might have helped her. And the reason I've become really interested in the menopause transition is because I've positioned menopause in women's healthy aging research, and I've been able to do this through my doctoral research, and because we know that the 3 stages of menopause that women go through, and you'll learn about these, perimenopause, which is the start of the hormonal changes that go on in our body from our mid-40s onwards. Then we go into menopause, which is when women's periods have ended. Officially, it's around 51, 52 years age. And then post-menopause, when women have not had a period for a year or more. And there is a lot of different hormonal chaos or hormonal changes that go on around the body. And even though perimenopause is the start of estrogen and progesterone declining, by the time we get to menopause, our reproductive hormones in our pituitary gland, our master hormones, have started to decline as well. So this can health and aging researchers now understand that the menopause transition is a particularly vulnerable time for women's health as they age. Our mother's generation have offered us so much insight about the slippery slope that women can be on with regard to their health and functional decline as they move through this latter stage of their life. So, of course, with the aging of the population around the world, women are now facing 20 to 30 more years in post-menopause. And my curiosity has been about how these health changes occur and, most importantly, how we can turn those around. And it's interesting that numerous bodies of research now report that menopausal status remains an independent contributor for the number of cardiovascular disease risk indicators. So as women come through their menopause transition, it is well known that women's cardiac risk changes in post-menopause compared to men, and therefore this is a really important stage of life that we need to take into account some lifestyle changes to actually prevent that, as I say, that slippery slope. And I know this full well myself, because I was the same. I arrived in my early 50s, my late 40s and my early 50s without understanding any of the changes that were occurring. I was trying to follow the lifestyle practices that I had followed for years, and I just had no idea that menopause was the biological gateway to aging. Therefore, I needed to change how I was looking after myself. So as part of my doctoral studies, I learnt that it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. In fact, that's the good news. There are numerous cultures around the world who don't experience the symptoms that are experienced by many Western women. And I became curious about this, which led me to ask myself this question, and this is the one that I will be coming back to on your course. Isn't it time that we put menopause management in women's healthy aging and wellness science and not in the medical paradigm or the decline paradigm, the dysfunction paradigm? So as part of the my doctoral and postdoctoral studies, I began to explore this age and stage of life and really started to look at the symptoms and the lifestyle solutions and what a difference it's made to thousands of women around the world since I put my research into a step-by-step lifestyle program. You can go to the My Menopause Transformation website and look at those and see what I did and read about me as well. This is Kate from the UK, and I love how happy she looks. She now has a renewed lease on life and she's lost weight. She has renewed energy. But most importantly, she has the confidence now to change her lifestyle in accordance with her age and stage of life. So these are the types of things that I want you to learn how to do as well, or how to understand these changes. And, really it's all about making women feel better and enabling them to thrive. And I know that, you've got your own coaching and practitioner expertise, and I just want to be able to clip on this information about menopause because not a lot of people are talking about it, and it's certainly something that there has to be a lot more understanding in. So I want you to come down the rabbit hole with me on this 12-week course. I would love you to learn what I learnt myself so that you have the knowledge and confidence to support women and these, with evidence lifestyle solutions. It's such an important age and stage of life whereby, as I mentioned, they become very vulnerable to a lot of different health changes. So I want you to learn what menopause is, not only with changes to estrogen and progesterone, but other hormones too. Estrogen is often the star hormone when it comes to menopause, and the one we hear about most, but we also have its partner progesterone, and we also have two pituitary hormones, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So when all of these hormones fluctuate in midlife, there can be some impactful changes to not only these hormones, but other hormones around the body. And I want to talk you through this too. So as I always say, menopause is the bookend to puberty. And once we understand this, then we can become curious about how during puberty we didn't need all the supplements and medications to move through that life stage. So what can we be doing to assist the body to with lifestyle solutions in menopause? And it's kind of begs the question to me. So if menopause is a natural life course event, then for the thousands or hundreds of thousands of women around the world who do experience symptom chaos and they don't feel like themselves, then what is going on? What happened? So I really want to share that with you. And just as an example, one of the main things that I discovered is that it's not just about hormones. The dialogue is often about the hormones, but there's all these other things that have contributed to symptoms as well. And, the SWAN study out of America, the study of women's health across the nation, has some really important research that I don't think that we're taking into consideration. And this enabled by exploring some of this research, it enabled enabled me to take a life course approach to menopause symptoms. And this is really important information that I want to share with you on the 12-week course. And it's, our later life health and functioning is the product of exposures that we accumulate across our lifespan. And never before have we seen so many changes to our societal changes in life. So we get really fixated on hormonal changes, but the life that we've led have contributed to symptom chaos as well. And just as an example, I call women in their midlife years, in their 50s, right through to their 60s, as the guinea pig generation for the phenomenal changes that have arrived in society over our lifetime. And these changes are particularly around food production and availability, obviously wine and alcohol, the chemical influences, and certainly the body image and medical influences on our health and our well-being. And for example, we now know the impact of antibiotics and other medications on our gut microbiome. We know how harmful sugar is to the rapidity of our aging and inflammation. We know that there are chemicals that disrupt hormonal regulation, and we know that food production and food availability has changed our levels of inflammation hugely over our lifetime. And certainly even other things like the arrival of the contraceptive pill in the 1950s has impacted women's choices about reproduction and the timing of this. And scientists now know through the gut microbiome research that oral contraceptives are also impacting gut health as women come into their 50s. So I want to take you on some of these changes and bring you on a journey around the life course approach. And, if you are someone who loves exercise, or if you've got clients who love exercise, as I do myself, I've been a pioneer of the New Zealand exercise industry and personal training industry, but our exercise choices have changed immensely, haven't they? We also, many of us who love exercise have started with aerobic exercise, with the arrival of Jane Fonda and then all the jazzergetics and all the different ways of doing aerobics or aerobic music exercise to music classes. But with the involvement of bodybuilding and body shaping and personal trainers and more athletic influence, and certainly into the fitness industry, women are training and competing like men and athletes, but we're not mini men. And this has been what's really intriguing to me, certainly from a sports science perspective. So we've gone from Jane to Tarzan with our exercise. And I want to explore this phenomenon with you and teach you about the impact that heavy exercise may be having on hormonal health, particularly the role of one of our stress hormones called cortisol, and the impact that this has on the availability of progesterone. So that's really interesting research. You can see here, this is me here in beautiful Lake Louise in Canada, and at that time I was reading about the physiology research that had been undertaken on the Hadza tribe in Tanzania. I was particularly interested in the woman, the Hadza woman, obviously, and the research that has gone on with older women and their energy expenditure. The average walking that they were doing was 6 to 8 kilometres a day. And I know that at the time I certainly wasn't walking that distance a day. And I think that many of us with busy lives aren't able to make the time to walk this far every day. However, in the Hadza tribe, women don't mention menopause, and this has been followed up with the fabulous work of Dr. Katie Fitzpatrick from the UK, who lived with the Hadza woman on and off for 2 years and discovered that they have very few symptoms compared to Western women. And this made me really curious about the lives that they were living and how we could actually take some of that learning and put that into our own lifestyle. Then, of course, there's been the research that I've come across and certainly know about from Professor Gary Eager in Australia. He's the pioneer of lifestyle medicine, and Professor John Dixon here at Auckland University in New Zealand. And they combined research into aging. They were looking at lifestyle influences that promote early aging and inflammation. In fact, they've written about a new term for this called inflammaging, and that is the changes that occur that are just due to the fact that we're biologically aging. And as I learned from their research that, menopause or midlife is a perfect storm for changing levels of inflammation in the body. And I really wanted to get into this research, so I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. And what Professors Eager and Dixon have done is really explored the factors that contribute to inflammation on top of aging inflammation, or aging is one of the factors that contribute to that, but there's other lifestyle factors as well, and then how we can turn that around with some of our nutritional changes. So I'm really excited about sharing that with you, particularly when it comes to women and research with women. And I think overall, one of the things that I challenge women about in some of my other presentations is that we're the first generation of women to come into menopause when, we've got a lot of things going on, and therefore there's a lot of things on our plates, and we do worry and we do increase our anxiety because our nervous system is aging. And of course, this leads to a lot of hormonal chaos. And for many women, they've got teenagers at home or younger children, so they're arriving in menopause, having had children later in life, and there's a lot to process. So there's been a huge amount of research again that's come out of the SWAN study, as well as the Seattle Midlife Women's Health Study, some other studies that have come out of the Australian Longitudinal Women's Health Study. And what we do know is that for women in their midlife years, then there's a lot of changes going on that increase their perception of stress, and certainly their perceptions around what makes them worry and feel anxious, and how this impacts their menopause symptoms. So I'm going to take you through some of this research. I'm going to explore this with you and take you through that as part of the 12-week course. So it's going to be really exciting to do that with you. And, because of the impact of our of the life course and lifestyle changes over the past 30, 40 years, and the fact that women are going through menopause, then, the result is, if they're not changing how they're looking after themselves, then the body starts to fight for survival. So there's changing cardiac, gut, liver, and joint health in so many women. And you can see here, Tony here from New Zealand, she's had a corporate job. She got a corporate job and was really struggling with her brain fog and anxiety. So it's really exciting when you understand that, when we look through the lens of aging and not just look at our reproductive hormones, but all these other influences, then we can actually turn around our symptoms. So I'm going to take you through a lot of these changes. As I say, don't don't worry about the physiology. Yes, there'll be a little bit, but I'm going to make it nice and easy for you to understand. If you don't have a physiology background, then don't worry about that. But it's really important that we don't just look at menopause symptoms in isolation of what's going on around the rest of the body and what's going on around the organs. So I'm going to take you through all of these different target tissues and how our hormonal changes in midlife impact these around our body, particularly our heart and blood vessels, and show you that, so many women think that menopause is just about the ovaries, but it's actually not. And it's exciting when you understand these changes. And as I say, look through the lens of aging. We need to understand that menopause symptoms are impacted by not only our aging, our biological aging, but our stress, our health changes over our lifetime, and the understanding that all hormones in the body work together to help women survive. We're geared up for survival. So one of the main things you'll learn is the powerful connection between the thyroid, the pituitary, and the adrenal hormones. And I want you to learn about the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, and thyroid axis. And I'll be exploring this with you and relating this specifically to the menopause transition. I know some of you will know about this already, some of you may not, so we can work at the right level too, so don't worry about that aspect of it. You'll learn that when women don't sleep, and many of you I'm sure have heard this cry from your clients about not being able to sleep, so this affects their HPA axis and as well as their menopause symptoms. So I'll explain this to you and offer you the solutions so that you can then help your clients. I also want you to learn about hot flushes, the hallmark of menopause. And of course, these night sweats are often talked about and suffered from. And I was curious about why I was always sweating and why I always felt as if my temperature regulation was out of balance. And as someone who has lectured for many years in sport and exercise science, I realised that I wasn't looking at my hot flushes and sweating in the context of sports science and medicine. And by that I mean the fact that sweating, when we sweat, it's a sign that our body is trying to cool down. So it begs the question, why is my body trying to cool down? Why is it overheating? And when you look at the aging research, you soon learn that there are numerous changes to women's blood vessels, and these impact inflammation and hot flushes, particularly for those women who are either sedentary or doing too much exercise. And you can turn all of this around, and the exciting thing is that there's lifestyle solutions that we can put in place that actually negate this inflammation and negate the changes to our blood vessels, which is really important, or not so much negate but slows down the changes as we come through menopause. And the other thing that I want you to learn is how menopause affects organs such as the liver, the gut, and also importantly the lymphatic system. So I want to, this is important for women who are putting on a lot of weight, feeling really tired. Our lymphatic system is part of our toxin removal system along with our liver and our kidneys, and if we can improve the functioning of our lymphatic system, then that improves our circulation and our energy levels. So I'll keep it easy for you to understand, and don't forget that if you do come on the CPD course, then there's weekly Zoom calls. You'll have those with me, and you can I can answer your questions as well. So I want to, as part of this exciting CPD course, I want to present to you a new narrative for menopause. I want to take you through why inflammation is involved in this particular age and stage of life, why inflammation is a big part of our stress response and the production of cortisol, which is our chronic stress hormone, and then how this process impacts on other areas of the body, and why women feel that they're just not themselves. So that's going to be really important. I'm going to help you place the menopause in transition into aging science, and give you really practical solutions that you can teach your clients, they can put into place right away, and they'll be able to feel that difference and feel like their old self again. And this is nothing to do with pharmaceutical solutions either. It's all to do with lifestyle solutions. So I'm really excited if you can come on board with me. And the way I've done this through my women's health and aging research is to draw on a number of disciplines in lifestyle medicine, in aging science, around depression, inflammation research, sleep and stress management research, certainly cardiac health, that's hugely important, and nutritional research that comes out of aging studies, and certainly the exercise research as well. So I've got a potpourri of different subjects to share with you and keep you really interested. I want you to go to the My Menopause Transformation website when you can. I've got thousands of women who have come onto my program. So the CPD course is the learnings I've taken from this. As you come on that course, I want you to do a case study and find someone in your location who we can give you feedback about and enable you to practice. I love that role of practicing, reflecting, being able to answer questions. And as I say to women on my course, they're not coming through menopause anymore. They're coming through womanopause. And it's when we put ourselves into the age and stage of life that we're at, and we turn around this symptom chaos that we are feeling, then we can return our energy levels, and we can sleep all night and also enjoy this stage of life. This is Susie in Switzerland, and she's a very busy lady, got a very busy job, and she came on the Transform Me course and just learned so much that helped her to reflect on the changes that she could make to enable and educate herself about how to as she said, slow down. There's hundreds of success stories and testimonials on the website. I'd love you to look at those and just get a sense of, the difference that you can be making to women as well. Leslie there in the UK, Lydia in Australia, Michaela in Canada. I use Michaela a lot on my courses actually because she's a chef, and she is often appearing in the kitchen and showing women how they can use some of the recipes in the program. And then Joy, she's a farmer here in New Zealand, and it's really important to understand that women in midlife have got so much going on in their lives, and they just want the energy and to be able to just be able to enjoy what they're doing. So will you join me? I would love you to. It's a 12-week online CPD course. I will take you through your own journey. It's continuing education and CPD approved. I've teamed up with Emma Murphy from Opal Success or Connected Health Training, and I just want you to help your clients, your female clients, how you can help them thrive and not just survive. So why do we need this? Well, there's a big demand for menopause coaching. The population is is aging. The prevalence of disease in menopausal women is increasing, particularly around the big three of hypertension or high blood pressure, osteoporosis, which is bone health, and depression. And we can make a difference, and I know that you can make a difference, and really be in that whole menopause paradigm whereby we're taking this age and stage of life and teaching women how to change their lifestyle to manage their symptoms. So I want you to become part of the menopause symptom revolution with MyMT, and there's an eligibility criteria for you to look at. You can look at what's in the course. It's a combination of blended learning. I'll be online recording modules like this one, and then there's live Zoom calls with me as well as course readings. For those who want to go on and become a MyMT affiliate practitioner, there's information you can read about that as well. And as I say, there's going to be lots of fabulous information that will help you with your business, help you with really get into this demographic and make a difference. We're starting off with a very small course, so I don't want you to miss out. So please just set your expectations and pre-register for the course and let us know that you're interested. I'm going to have a practitioner community, regular mentoring as well, and I do this for my own courses, and it's a really great way to find out clients' questions and also to be able to answer them. So please explore who I am. I'm from New Zealand, and I have used my women's aging research to really target this particular demographic. It's also important for post-menopause women as well, and I can't wait to help you discover what I've discovered so that you can enjoy and benefit from helping others as well. If you want to specialise in time and grow your practice with us, then that's an option for you further down the course. So thank you for listening. I hope you're as excited as I am, and I'd love you to pre-register for the course.